video, I'm going to discuss how to prepare for taking a measurement in the field using the SPAN spectrograph. The items that you will need will be the orange telescope and tripod, the spectrograph box itself, a black detector power supply with the 1 to 2 12-volt adapter, the SPAN manual, and the copper counterweight ring for the orange telescope. If you're going to do a test in the lab, you also need a gas lamp and various gas tubes. Before you go out into the field though, you're going to want to make sure that the dehumidifying element is working properly and that all the optics are calibrated. So the first thing that you need to do is to replace or at least check the desiccant in the element and make sure that it's going to be effective at taking the moisture out of the SPAN box. So the first thing you need to do is unstrap the Velcro straps. Then you take the diagonal fiber box and you unwind the fiber train. You want to keep the torsion to a minimum when you're doing this because you don't want to put any tension on the fibers within the mirror bracket. They're held in there pretty good, but you don't want to pull them out of the mirror if you're too do this too vigorously. And then you set it aside on the table. The next thing you want to do is unscrew the thumb screws for the lid. Set them aside. And if this instrument has been sitting for any amount of time, it may be stuck to the silicon gasket that is lining the walls of the instrument. If that's the case, don't try to pry it off. You want to just use the handles and with increasing force lift up because it will pop off. But you don't want to ruin the gasket because you're trying to keep this airtight and you don't want to disrupt that. The black tube here next to the camera mount and the camera assembly is the dehumidifying element. To take it out of the box, you undo the Velcro straps and lift it up off the optical bench. You want to then go ahead and feed through the power cord to give it enough slack to be able to pull the element outside of the box. Like this. And you'll see that one side has the fan and then the other side is the intake. And that's what pulls the air through the desiccant and takes the water vapor out of the volume inside this box. So the intake cap you can unscrew and you'll see the desiccant inside the element. We've already dumped out our old desiccant, which you can see here is a pinkish purple because we used a color indicating desiccant which begins blue, then as it absorbs moisture and doesn't become effective anymore, it turns purple pink. If you're not using a color indicating desiccant, that's fine. You will likely just have to replace it every time. So then once you take out the old desiccant, put the new desiccant in, and fill it up to a level that when you screw the cap back on, it presses down on the rocks and keeps them compact inside this tube. Once you do that, you can place it back down onto the Velcro straps, pull the power cord back through, and then at this point is when you want to go ahead and calibrate the optics. If you're doing a lab test, then that's all you'll be doing, and you can just go ahead and do that. You can refer to video 1 for steps on how to calibrate this instrument and make sure that everything is good for use. Once you've done that, then you can go ahead and put the lid back on. You'll see here that there's a optical fiber symbol that points towards where the fiber should be leading from the box. So make sure that lines up, and then try to line up your holes. best way to start would be to screw on the ones on the small sides of the box first, and then do the other ones diagonally. They all should fit. Don't try to over torque on the thumb screws because the brackets only have a few threads and you don't want to strip them, but they will fit if the holes are lined up properly. So just take your time with it, screw it down, and really this is just to make sure that the lid doesn't come off during transport, so it doesn't need to be that tight anyways. It just needs to be holding it down. And you may have to push in the walls on some of the sides to line up the holes properly, but it's not that difficult. With the lid on, you want to then grab your diagonal and wind up the fiber train. Not too tightly, but you do have a little bit of motion with the nylon webbing. So this is probably a good radius to have. Place the bubble wrap down on the lid, and then secure both the bubble wrap and the diagonal to the handle, making sure that you're not scraping the lid too much. Then the power cords you want to take, there are two car adapter plugs. The one that has the two cords leading up to the plug is the one that goes to the dehumidifying element. The other one with the one cord leading up to the plug is for the CCD camera. So you want to unwind the dehumidifying plug and then make sure that the other ones are wound up. And then you can attach those with the other Velcro strip and the rest of the fiber train to the other handle. Then you want to grab your power supply and make sure it's charged up. You might have to plug it in prior to the evening that you plan on doing the observation. You can use an extension cord and plug it into this plug here. And then you can test to see how much juice is in the charger by pushing this button, and these lights will light up. So make sure it's charged, then plug in the power cord, and you'll hear it start to spin. You hear the fan whirring inside, and now you're ready to move the span box with the power supply to your final destination. And this will require two people, or you can put it on a cart and transport with a cart, but regardless, when you get to the field, you will have to move them both together. And like I said, this is just to keep the moisture and the condensation on the diffraction grating to a minimum. We don't want to ruin the diffraction grating, and that's it for this part. So now grab your stuff and go to the site, and then we'll go ahead and refer you to the next video, which will show you how to set up the telescope and connect the spectrograph to the telescope and actually record some spectra.